IAE is here, and with it we have a brand new starter ship in the form of the Drake Cutter, so I thought it'd be a cool time to do a bit of a rundown of all the starter ships available to new citizens. This is one of the best times to get into game with the IAE free fly. You can jump into game as long as you've got an account, and due to the ability to rent the majority of ships in game as part of the expo, you can try out more than 100 ships during the next week or so. When you create an account, just be sure to use a referral code to get some extra cash. Mine's up on screen, but if you've got a mate who plays, just be sure to use theirs. So if this all sounds good to you, then grab yourself a cup of tea while I roll the intro, and then let's get into it. Starter ships are, unsurprisingly given the name, the very best place to get going in Star Citizen. They'll give you an entry point into the game which can handle the first rungs of a number of different loops. They're also very forgiving, so if you have an accident and your starter ship gets destroyed, it will be very quick, usually instant if you're able to spend a few in-game credits, to get back up and running. The larger ships that you'll move on to before too long can punish you a bit with a longer wait time when you have to reclaim them. And for this reason, I'd recommend that anyone who's looking to get into the game does so with one of these starters. To play, all you need is one of the most basic starter game packs, which will set you back $45. Quick disclaimer here, I live in the UK, so any prices you see on my screen will include 20% VAT. I'm going to talk in before tax prices, so that you can just adjust based on your region. Game packs contain both your access to the game and a starter ship to get you going. You can buy ships in SC as standalone, meaning they don't come with a game pack. You only need one game package, so this allows you to buy more than one ship without having to buy more than one pack. At this most basic end, you have two options, the RSI Aurora MR and the consolidated Outland Mustang Alpha. In both cases, the ship is worth $30, so the other $15 is your game access. Because there are currently some discounted packs on offer, during IAE you actually have more than these two options in this $45 price range. But I want this vid to stand up after IAE is over for any new would-be players. So we'll come back to the Drake Cutter a bit later. Both the Aurora and Mustang are perfectly good places to start. They both have two size 1 guns with an option to double up the firepower by adding more guns in game. The Aurora has a bit more space internally, but now that the Mustang Alpha has a convenient little cargo pod, both are capable of carrying a few boxes for some of the basic delivery missions. The Mustang has a bit more going for it in the combat department, with a sleeker, more aerodynamic profile that helps its manoeuvrability in dogfights, particularly those taking place within the atmosphere of planets and moons. But the Aurora benefits from space within for a bed, allowing a player to log in and out of the game without returning to the comfort of a station or landing zone. There really is very little to choose from with these two ships, so I would say don't overthink it too much. And in all honesty, it'll probably be something that you move on from fairly quickly. Historically, my recommendation has just about tilted to the Aurora, since up until now I felt it was more versatile. But I'm going to take this opportunity to change my rec to the Mustang Alpha, now that it's got that cargo box. So there we are, a few minutes in and you know all you need to know. I guess I'll just grab myself a beer and call it a day. But there is another layer that we can consider here, and that's advanced starters. In short, advanced starters are where you can, if you wish, put a bit more money into the game for a bit more of an advantage in the early times, over the base Aurora or Mustang packs. And when I talk about any of the prices here, I'm going to be doing the standalone prices. So if one of these is $45, then that's $15 more than your Mustang, for example, since the ship part of your pack is worth $30. All of these ships cost less than 1 million credits to buy in game, which really isn't very much. So it's worth knowing that the advantage is not a huge one that you're paying for. But if you decide you're happy with the spend, then they can be a bit of a leg up and in some cases can give you a ship that won't entirely gather dust in your hangar the second you move on to something else. As a slight bonus at the end as well, I'll also take a minute to go through what I'd term multi-crew starter ships. So one of the things we do notice in Star Citizen is that we have different series of ships. So this is where we've got one chassis or model type, and then it's got different variants. So first up we've got the Aurora, where we've got an LX variant at $35 if you'd like to pay an extra $5 for some comfier leather seats in your Aurora. The LN is a more combat-oriented variant for $40, which will give you some more firepower from the open, with all 4 of those hardpoints ready equipped with laser repeaters and a larger size 4 missile rack, giving you some more ordnance. And the CL is a more cargo-focused variant, giving you an expanded 6 SCU of cargo capacity. For the Mustang, we've got the Mustang Beta at $40, which is a very basic expedition variant, giving a slightly better jump drive and a basic bed for you to log in and out of. The Gamma at $55, bit of a weird one, offers an entry-level racing ship. I'm not sure that would be on my recommended list though, because that is a bit too niche. While the Delta at $65 is the pure combat variant of the Mustang series. Similar to the Aurora LN, you get the extra guns ready in the hardpoints, while the variant adds 2 custom rocket pod launchers. However, right now at IAE, I think you actually have a better choice than either the Mustang or the Aurora. The Drake Cutter's just been released, and as part of the sale there's a discounted game pack at 25% off. So the Cutter's normal standalone value is $45, but right now you can pick up a game pack with it in for that price, exactly the same as the Mustang and the Aurora. And I think this is just quite a bit more ship for the same money. Initially I didn't know what to make of the Cutter. I think the styling is going to be like Marmite, either you'll love it or you'll hate it. But now I've got my hands onto one, I have to say I'm actually really liking it under first impressions. It offers less in terms of guns than the Aurora, Mustang or the Pisces that we'll come on to in a sec, with just the 2 size 2 hardpoints. And with the size 1 shield, it's a bit on the flimsy side. But the added utility with its clean entry point through the back ramp, VTOL thrusters to assist in taking off and landing, and relatively sizable cargo hold that can even fit some ground vehicles, it's definitely interesting. I haven't quite had a chance to try this myself yet, but looking at last night's ISC with some very careful driving, it looks like you could even fit a rock mining buggy in the back, which can open a very profitable game loop up right off the bat. If you're with me on the design aesthetic, then this would definitely be the winner right now for my starter ship of IAE, given the discounted price, but like I said earlier, it's a personal choice that only you really have the right answer to. For $45 though, the Anvil Pisces C8X Expedition is also a worthy consideration, and given its status as a best-in-show ship, it would be my second pick for IAE, with the added benefit that as part of the sale the Pisces game pack is also discounted, but this time by 10% to $54. The Pisces is a firm fan favourite, and it's easy to see why. It's got 4 size 1 slots matching the Aurora for firepower, but with more guns ready in the slots to start with so you don't have to add them. You only get the 1 shield, so it is a bit flimsier, but the big pickup is utility. In the back of the ship you'll find ample space for chucking boxes for missions, and the 2 jump seats make the Pisces one of the smallest ships capable of carrying a couple of friends around. The Pisces is one of the ships that sees the most use out of my personal hangar as an extremely nimble runaround. We use them for a lot of things like bunker missions and as a small flexible dropship. The Pisces I feel also has some decent longevity. Once you get up to ships like the massive Anvil Carrack, the Pisces makes a perfect shuttle for its larger cousins. At $50 we have the 100i, which is the first ship in the Origin 100 series. The 100i is arguably a runner, not a fighter. It's pretty flimsy with its 1 size 1 shield, and while the size 3 weapon hardpoints on the ship are larger than the size 1s and 2s on the Aurora and Mustang, the 100i only has 2 weapons, so overall DPS actually comes out a bit lower when everything's maxed. However, with a much larger QT fuel tank and a fuel scoop system for hydrogen, the 100 series outperforms in terms of operational range. As well as the base 100i, we've got the 125A combat variant for $60 and the 135C cargo variant with 6 SCU of capacity for $65. An old favourite of mine is the Aegis Avenger Titan at $55. To me, the Penguin, as it's affectionately known, has a lot going for it still. You keep the 2 size 1 shields, but can pick up larger weapons with the Titan's 2 size 3 and 1 size 4 hardpoints. The DPS output is actually similar to the Aurora and Mustang, but the effective range of the guns increases with size, so you can stay a bit safer while you're taking pot shots at your enemies. On top of this, the Titan has living quarters with a bed for logging in and out, as well as a modest cargo grid of 8 SCU. And to be honest, this is why I've never really looked at any of the cargo variants of the Aurora or the 100 series. The Titan's a bit more than the Aurora CL, and a bit less than the 135C, but with better cargo capacity and more all-round benefits to my mind. There are a couple of variants here in the form of the Stalker at $60, which focuses on bounty hunting. Right now, to complete a bounty hunting mission, you just have to issue justice through death and explosions, but in the future you'll be required to capture criminals, so the Stalker's prisoner transportation pods are going to come in handy. The Warlock is getting beyond starter territory for me at the price of $85, but I feel like including it just for the sake of completeness in the series. The Warlock with its EMP is an interdiction ship, capable of knocking out and suppressing the electronic systems of other ships. While I think it's good to include these in the list, I do think it's the Titan which is the real starter ship given its versatility. For me, the Stalker and the Warlock are cool, but they're just getting a little bit too specialised. So for $10 more than its smaller cousin, you can get an Origin 300i at $60, and it's effectively Origin's answer to the Avenger series. It keeps with Origin's sleek aesthetics and brings in 3 size 3 hardpoints, along with a smart interior. Like the Titan, you've got 8 SCU of cargo space as standard. The 315p Exploration or Pathfinder variant is an interesting one at $65. The cargo here is up to 12 SCU, and the weapon hardpoint on the nose is exchanged for a ship-mounted tractor beam. These haven't entered the game yet, but given the utility of the handheld ones, these could be really interesting when they come in. The 325A at $70 has a special place in my heart since it was my first pledge in SC back in 2014. This is the combat version of the 300 series, with the nose hardpoint upgraded to a size 4. The cargo here drops down to 4 SCU though. While to me the 300 series are really cool looking, one notable downside versus something like the Avengers is the relative fragility of the rear wings, which can be a big issue given these hold 2 of your guns. If these get sheared off, a lot of your firepower can just drop off and you can be pretty useless in a fight. The MISC Reliant core at $65 is definitely worth an honourable mention within this rundown, particularly if you're looking for something a little bit more on the weird and wonderful side of things. This alien-inspired ship has a serious bit of cool factor, and thanks to 2 size 2 hardpoints and a further 4 size 2 weapons through remote turrets, it's actually fairly unique as a true 2-person starter ship. There is also a reporting-focused Reliant Tanner at $75, a science-oriented Sen at $85, and the Combat Mako at $95. But these are all getting a little bit steeply priced and specialised for me compared to true starter ships. The Nomad from Consolidated Outland is at the very top end of what I'd consider a solo starter, and at $80 it's a decent sized outlay at an extra $50 on top of your base Aurora or Mustang. However, this space pickup truck does come with a fair amount of upgrades. With 3 size 3 weapons, the firepower of the Nomad is comparable to some of the other ships in this lineup, but it does stand out in terms of survivability with 3 size 1 shields versus the 1 or 2 on everything else in this list. As the name implies, the Nomad also boasts ample living accommodation for the solo traveller, and the flatbed gives you a meaningful uptick in cargo capacity to 24 SCU. The flatbed can also transport a rock mining buggy, giving you access to a new game loop. The Drake Cutter might have stolen the title of cheapest rock transport, but the Nomad is probably the cheapest ship that comfortably fits one. So as a final bit of food for thought, I thought I would incorporate a little section here at the end talking about what I term multi-crew starters. This is mainly because if you're getting towards the top end of the advanced starters, things like the Nomad, I think these 3 ships deserve a little look just so you can see what's round the corner. The Drake Cutlass Black at $100 is many people's first taste of a multi-crew ship. You've got active positions for 3 in the form of the pilot, co-pilot and turret seats, while you have drop seats in the back for a further 6 passengers. There are 2 bunks for logging in and out and a weapon rack in the front of the ship, while the rear is a versatile cargo hold capable of taking 48 SCU of cargo, or a variety of ground vehicles. There's a rear-mounted tractor beam for when the ship tractor beams come in as well. Components wise though is where you start to see some notable upgrades, with a size 2 shield, 4 size 3 weapon hardpoints under pilot control, and another 2 on the turret. The ship and the other 2 here also benefit from a size 2 QT drive and the fuel tanks to allow you to jump a lot faster across Stanton. The MISC Freelancer at $110 offers slightly less firepower with the same 4 size 3s under pilot control but only size 2s on the turret, which suffers from a worse firing arc than the Cutlass. However, the Freelancer is the more dedicated hauler of the bunch, with 66 SCU of space in the trunk and 2 size 2 shields for extra protection. The Freelancer also benefits from seating and bunks for up to 4 crew if you've got a bit of a group of mates playing. The Crusader Spirit C1, also at $110, is worth a mention as the newest concept ship in this bracket. Just to be crystal clear for any newer players, concept ships have yet to release, so until it does you'd get a Cutlass Black to tide you over. The C1 is the least gunned of the 3 ships, with just the 4 size 3s under pilot control. It carries 48 SCU in line with the Cutty Black, but the ship has a rear-facing turret-mounted tractor beam for loading cargo when these come into the game again. While it seems more limited than the Freelancer and the Cutlass, I would imagine that when it comes out we'll find that its advantage is speed and manoeuvrability over the other 2. However, this is a warning about concept ships. I'm not sure I can recommend anything as part of a starter guide that you can't fly right now. I never know whether to include these types of ships in a starter ship video aimed at newer players, but I think they're important to just contextualise why some of the ships approaching the top end of the advanced starters might not be as good a deal as they first appear. There's also always the possibility that, like I did, you've started playing together with 1 or 2 IRL mates. And when I first started playing, after a few weeks, my mate Matt and I decided we'd quite like something a bit bigger, so he took me out for a steak dinner and I upgraded my 325A into a Cutty Black for us. But please take seriously the message that you don't need anything more than a base pack at the $45 mark to get into the game. I'd certainly recommend that if you're brand new and you want to keep playing after the free fly, just pick up one of these $45 packs. The Cutter, if you're watching during IAE, would be my personal recommendation, but also the Aurora or the Mustang if you prefer those. Then just get some hours in the game under your belt. Sure, starter ships aren't as juicy as some of the others out there, but one thing I will say for sure is earning your way up from them will give you a really rewarding gameplay experience, and ultimately make you a better pilot and player than maybe someone who just bought the progress straight away, and has a better shielded, better armed, better manoeuvring ship, covering up some of their mistakes in the early game. I'm actually looking forward to the wipe in 3.18, I've just bought myself a cutter pack on an alt account, and I'm going to be doing a relatively hardcore 0 to hero stream after the next patch goes live. So if you feel like coming along, please watch out for that and come and hang out. Anyway, I hope you found this a useful, enjoyable video. If you did get something out of it, please consider donating me a like and a subscribe, and share it out with anyone you think it could help. And with all that said, thanks for watching all the way to the end, and I look forward to seeing you next time.